Your reputation is not built by how well you fight. It's built by how well you choose not to fight. The most respected people in every industry, every community, every family are not the ones who win the most arguments. They're the ones who avoid the most arguments. They're not the toughest fighters. They're the smartest non-fighters. Because they understand that every fight you win makes you more enemies, but every fight you avoid makes you more allies. Every argument you dominate makes you more isolated, but every argument you decline makes you more influential. The person who can stay calm when everyone else is losing their mind, who can stay focused when everyone else is distracted, who can stay building when everyone else is destroying, that person controls the room, controls the conversation, and ultimately controls the outcome. There was an old farmer who lived next to the most aggressive man in the entire county. Every morning, this neighbor would come to the fence line screaming about something. The grass was too long. The chickens were too loud. The fence was 1 inch on his property. Day after day, year after year, this man would rage and shout and threaten lawsuits and violence. And you know what that old farmer did? Absolutely nothing. He would nod politely, say, "I understand your concern," and walk away. The whole town thought he was weak. They whispered behind his back, "Why doesn't he stand up for himself? Why doesn't he fight back?" That man is walking all over him. But here's what they didn't see. That old farmer was playing a completely different game. While his neighbor was burning energy, destroying relationships, and building a reputation as the town crazy man, the farmer was quietly building the most successful agricultural business in 3 counties. While his neighbor was screaming, the farmer was thinking. While his neighbor was making enemies, the farmer was making money. 20 years later, when that aggressive neighbor lost his farm to bankruptcy and had to move away in shame, guess who bought his property for half its value? The quiet farmer. The man everyone thought was weak had won the ultimate victory. He didn't just survive his enemy's attacks, he outlasted him completely. This is the power you need to understand today. Fighting back is what weak people do. Strong people don't fight back, they fool back. They understand something that most people never learn. The person who reacts has already lost control of the situation. When someone attacks you, insults you, tries to provoke you, they are not trying to hurt you. They are trying to control you. They want to make you dance to their music. They want to turn you into their puppet. And the moment you react with anger, the moment you fight back, you have given them exactly what they wanted. You have handed over your power. Think about it. Why do people pick fights? Because they feel powerless in their own lives. They feel small, insignificant, unsuccessful. So they try to make themselves feel bigger by making you smaller. They try to steal your peace because they have no peace of their own. They try to drag you down to their level because they cannot rise to yours. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. Their attack only works if you participate. Their insult only stings if you catch it. Their provocation only succeeds if you take the bait. Without your reaction, they have nothing. They are like a fire without oxygen. They simply die out. I remember watching a master carpenter work on a building site. There was this young hothead who kept trying to start arguments with him. Every day, some new complaint, some new insult, some new attempt to get a rise out of this man. And every day, the carpenter would just smile and say, "You might be right about that," and continue his work. The young man got more and more frustrated. His insults became louder, his provocations more desperate. But the carpenter never took the bait. He just kept building, kept working, kept focusing on what mattered. By the end of the project, the young hothead looked like a fool. He had spent weeks fighting with a man who wasn't even fighting back. The other workers lost all respect for him. The boss noticed who was the troublemaker and who was the professional. That carpenter understood something powerful. Silence is not weakness, it is strength under control. Not reacting is not being passive, it is being strategic. When you refuse to fight back, you are not surrendering, you are positioning yourself for a much bigger victory. See, most people think strength means fighting back immediately. They think power means showing everyone how tough you are. But that's the thinking of children. That's playground logic. Real strength is having the power to destroy someone, but choosing not to use it. Real power is being able to win an argument, but deciding the argument isn't worth having. When you fight back, you validate the other person's approach. You tell them that their method works. You confirm that aggression and insults are legitimate ways to get attention and control. But when you don't fight back, when you stay calm and focused on your goals, you do something much more powerful. You make their approach look foolish and immature. The aggressive neighbor thought he was intimidating the farmer, but to everyone watching, it looked like a grown man screaming at someone who was clearly his superior. The young hothead thought he was showing the carpenter who was boss. But to everyone watching, it looked like a child having a tantrum while an adult went about his business. This is the first principle you must understand. Every fight you avoid is a victory you win. Every argument you refuse to have is ground you gain. Every insult you don't respond to is power you keep. Your time is limited. Your energy is precious. Your attention is valuable. Why would you waste these resources on people who add nothing to your life? Why would you let someone else's bad day become your bad day? Why would you let someone else's anger become your anger? The farmer knew something that took me years to learn. The best revenge is not revenge at all. It's success. The best way to defeat your enemies is not to fight them. It's to outlast them. The best response to their attacks is not defense. It's simply continuing to build the life you want while they waste their lives trying to tear you down. When you master this principle, something incredible happens. People start to see you differently. They see someone who cannot be shaken, cannot be provoked, cannot be controlled. They see strength. They see maturity. They see leadership. And ironically, the very people who used to attack you start to respect you instead. And let me tell you about Marcus, a young man who understood this principle better than most people twice his age. Marcus started his business when he was just 22 years old. He had big dreams, but limited resources. What he did have was something more valuable than money. He had wisdom. When Marcus opened his small electronics repair shop, the established businesses in town saw him as a threat. They had been dividing the market among themselves for years, and here comes this young upstart trying to take their customers. So they did what threatened people always do. They attacked. They spread rumors that his work was poor quality. They told customers he was inexperienced. They even tried to get the city to shut him down over minor permit issues. A normal person would have fought back. A normal person would have defended themselves, argued, tried to prove them wrong. But Marcus was not normal. Marcus was smart. Instead of fighting their attacks, Marcus used them. When they said he was inexperienced, he agreed. You're absolutely right, he would tell customers. I am new to this business. That's why I work twice as hard and charge half as much. I have to earn your trust. When they said his shop was small, he agreed again. Yes, it is small. That means I can give each customer personal attention that the big shops can't provide. The competitors thought they were winning. They thought Marcus was admitting defeat. They relaxed their guard and stopped paying attention to what he was really doing. And what was Marcus really doing? He was building the most loyal customer base in the city while his competitors were focused on destroying him. Marcus was focused on serving his customers so well that they became his biggest advocates. While they were spreading negative rumors, his customers were spreading positive testimonials. While they were trying to make him look bad, he was actually becoming better. Here's the beautiful part. His competitors' attacks actually helped him succeed. Every time they criticized him, they were giving him free advertising. Every time they mentioned his name, they were making people curious about this new young businessman. Every time they tried to warn customers away from him, they were actually directing customers to him. 3 years later, Marcus had the largest electronics repair business in the city. His competitors were struggling to stay afloat. The very people who had tried to destroy him were now calling him, asking if he wanted to buy their businesses. This is the second principle you must understand. Perception is not reality, but most people live as if it is. When you understand this, you can control how people perceive you and therefore control how they treat you. The art of intelligent deception is not about lying or being dishonest. It's about understanding that people see what they want to see, believe what they want to believe, and assume what they want to assume. When you know this, you can guide their assumptions in ways that benefit you. Marcus looked young and inexperienced to his competitors. So instead of trying to convince them otherwise, he let them believe it. He let them think he was no threat while he quietly built his empire. He let them underestimate him while he was actually outworking them. He let them see weakness where there was actually strength. This is what smart people do. They don't try to impress everyone with how smart they are. They don't try to prove how strong they are. They don't try to show off their capabilities. Instead, they let others underestimate them while they overperform. When people think you're weak, they don't prepare for you. When people think you're simple, they don't guard against you. When people think you're harmless, they don't see you coming. This gives you a tremendous advantage. I've seen this principle work in boardrooms, in relationships, in negotiations, in every area of life. The person who appears to be the least threatening is often the most dangerous. The person who seems to have the least power is often the most powerful. The person who looks like they're losing is often the one who's winning. But here's the key. You cannot fake this. You cannot pretend to be humble while being arrogant inside. You cannot act weak while being bitter about it. People can sense insincerity from a mile away. The deception has to be authentic. You have to genuinely not care what they think while you're building what you want. Marcus didn't care that his competitors thought he was weak. He didn't care that they underestimated him. He didn't care that they didn't respect him. He cared about one thing: building the best business he could build. And that focus made him unstoppable. When you stop trying to impress people and start trying to serve them, something magical happens. When you stop trying to prove yourself and start trying to improve yourself, you become the person others want to follow. When you stop fighting for respect and start earning it through results, you gain something much more valuable than respect. You gain influence. Let me share with you the story of David Chen, a man who transformed the biggest attack on his reputation into the foundation of his fortune. David owned a small restaurant that served authentic Asian cuisine. He poured his heart and soul into that place, working 18-hour days, perfecting recipes his grandmother had taught him, treating every customer like family. Then one day, a food blogger with a massive following visited his restaurant. This blogger was known for his harsh reviews, his ability to destroy businesses with a single negative post. David served him the same meal he served everyone else, made with love, prepared with care, seasoned with tradition. The blogger hated it. Not only did he hate it, he wrote a scathing review that went viral within hours. He called David's food inauthentic garbage, said the restaurant was a disgrace to real Asian cuisine, and recommended that people avoid this place at all costs. The review was shared thousands of times. Local news picked it up. David's phone started ringing with reporters wanting comments. Most restaurant owners would have been destroyed by this. Most would have fought back, defended themselves, maybe even sued for defamation. Some would have closed their doors in shame. But David did something completely different. David saw opportunity where others saw disaster. Instead of getting angry, David got curious. He called the blogger and asked if they could meet. When they sat down together, David didn't argue or defend his food. Instead, he asked questions. What did you expect to taste? What would have made the experience better for you? Help me understand your perspective. The blogger was shocked. He had never had a restaurant owner respond this way. He expected anger, defensiveness, maybe threats of legal action. Instead, he got genuine curiosity and a desire to learn. They talked for 2 hours about food, culture, authenticity, and expectations. Here's what David realized from that conversation. The blogger wasn't wrong about everything. There were ways David could improve his presentation, ways he could better explain his family's unique approach to traditional recipes, ways he could help customers understand the story behind each dish. But here's the genius part. David also realized that the controversy itself was valuable. Thousands of people now knew his restaurant existed. They were curious about the place that had caused such a strong reaction. So David did something brilliant. He turned the negative review into a marketing campaign. He posted a sign outside his restaurant that read, "Home of the food that blogger called inauthentic garbage. Come taste it for yourself and decide." He created a special menu item called the controversial noodle bowl, the exact dish the blogger had criticized. The response was incredible. People came from all over the city to try the food that had sparked such debate. Some came expecting it to be terrible and were pleasantly surprised. Others came hoping to support a small business owner who had been unfairly attacked. Many came simply out of curiosity. Within 3 months, David's restaurant had tripled its customer base. The waiting list for weekend reservations was 2 weeks long. Food Network called wanting to feature his story. Other restaurants started asking him for advice on handling negative publicity. The blogger's attack didn't destroy David. It launched him into success beyond his wildest dreams. But here's the crucial point. This didn't happen by accident. David chose to see opportunity in opposition. He chose to find value in criticism. He chose to turn poison into medicine. This is the third principle. Every attack contains the seeds of advancement. Every criticism carries the potential for growth. Every attempt to tear you down can become a stepping stone to lift you up. But only if you have the wisdom to see it and the courage to use it. Most people waste attacks. They get defensive, they fight back, they try to prove the attacker wrong. But smart people harvest attacks. They extract the valuable information. They use the attention. They convert the negative energy into positive momentum. There was a chess master named Eleanor who taught me one of the most valuable lessons of my life. I watched her play against an aggressive opponent who was clearly trying to intimidate her. He moved his pieces quickly, slammed them down hard on the board, made loud comments about her moves, trying to make her nervous and force her into mistakes. Most players would have responded in kind, played faster, tried to match his aggression, let the pressure get to them. But Elena did something fascinating. She slowed down even more. While he was rushing, she was thinking. While he was making noise, she was making plans. While he was trying to win the battle, she was positioning herself to win the war. For the first 20 moves, it looked like she was losing. Her opponent was capturing pieces, controlling territory, building what appeared to be a winning position. He started getting cocky, making jokes about how easy this was going to be. Spectators began to whisper that maybe the great Elena was finally meeting her match. But Elena wasn't worried. She had played this game thousands of times before. She knew something her opponent didn't understand. Chess is not won in the opening or the middle game. It's won in the end game. And she was building an end game that would be impossible for him to survive, move after move. She made choices that looked like concessions but were actually investments. She gave up small advantages to gain bigger ones later. She allowed him temporary victories to set up permanent defeats. She let him feel like he was winning while she was actually preparing his destruction. Then, around move 35, everything changed. Suddenly, his aggressive pieces were out of position. His early gains became liabilities. His rushed decisions caught up with him. Elena's patient positioning paid off. And she delivered a checkmate so elegant that even her opponent had to applaud after the game. I asked her how she stayed so calm when it looked like she was losing. She smiled and said something I'll never forget. People who fight for quick victories rarely achieve lasting ones. People who can wait for the right moment almost always win in the end. This is the psychology you must develop. Patient victory. Most people want immediate results. They want instant revenge when they're attacked. They want quick vindication when they're criticized. They want fast solutions to complex problems. But life doesn't work that way. Success doesn't work that way. Victory doesn't work that way. The farmer I told you about at the beginning didn't defeat his aggressive neighbor in a day, a week, or even a year. It took 20 years. But his victory was complete and permanent. Marcus didn't overtake his competitors in a month. It took 3 years of patient building. But when he won everything. David didn't transform that negative review overnight. It took months of strategic action. But the foundation he built was unshakable. This is what separates winners from losers. Winners understand that real victory takes time. They understand that the best revenge is not revenge at all. It's simply becoming so successful that your enemies become irrelevant. They understand that patience is not passive waiting. It's active preparation for the moment when opportunity meets readiness. When someone attacks you, your natural instinct is to fight back immediately. But your wisdom should tell you to wait. Wait and watch. Wait and learn. Wait and prepare. Wait and position yourself for a victory so complete that the fight becomes unnecessary. The person who can wait while others rush, who can plan while others react, who can build while others destroy, that person holds the ultimate power. That person controls the timing. That person chooses the battlefield. That person determines the outcome. Let me tell you about Sarah Martinez, a woman who transformed from the most reactive person I knew into one of the most respected leaders in her industry. When I first met Sarah 15 years ago, she was angry at the world. She had been passed over for promotions 3 times. Her business ideas had been stolen by colleagues, and she felt like everyone was out to get her. Sarah was a fighter. When someone criticized her work, she fought back with emails and arguments. When someone took credit for her ideas, she fought back with complaints to management. When someone tried to undermine her, she fought back with office politics and power plays. She was constantly in battle, constantly defending herself, constantly trying to prove that she was right. The problem was, all this fighting was destroying her career. Her reputation became that of a difficult person, someone who couldn't work well with others, someone who created drama wherever she went, despite being brilliant at her job. She kept getting overlooked for leadership positions because nobody wanted to deal with the conflict that seemed to follow her everywhere. Then something happened that changed everything. Sarah's biggest rival at work, a man named Kevin, who had taken credit for 2 of her major projects, was promoted to department head, the position she had been working toward for 5 years. That night, Sarah came home ready to quit her job, ready to give up on her dreams, ready to accept that life was unfair and she would never get ahead. But instead of quitting, Sarah made a decision that seemed crazy to everyone who knew her. She decided to stop fighting completely. She decided to implement every principle I've been sharing with you today. She decided to master the game instead of being played by it. The next morning, Sarah walked into Kevin's office and congratulated him on his promotion. She offered to help him succeed in any way she could. She volunteered to share her knowledge, to train his team, to support his initiatives. Everyone thought she had lost her mind. Her friends said she was being weak. Her family said she was letting people walk all over her. But Sarah wasn't being weak. Sarah was being strategic. She understood that Kevin's success could become her success if she positioned herself correctly. She understood that supporting him publicly would make her look like a team player, while also giving her insider access to his plans and decisions. For the next 6 months, Sarah became Kevin's most valuable ally. She helped him implement changes that made the department more efficient. She trained new employees. She solved problems before they became crises. She made Kevin look good, and in return, Kevin began to rely on her more and more. But here's what Kevin didn't realize. While Sarah was helping him succeed, she was also building relationships with everyone in the company. The CEO noticed how helpful and collaborative she had become. Other department heads started asking for her advice. Clients began requesting her specifically for their projects. Within a year, Sarah had transformed her reputation completely. She went from being seen as a troublemaker to being seen as a problem solver. She went from being avoided to being sought after. She went from being overlooked to being indispensable. Then the company went through a major reorganization. They needed someone to head up their new innovation division. They needed someone with technical skills, leadership ability, and the respect of everyone in the company. They needed someone who could work with difficult people, someone who could build bridges instead of burning them, someone who had proven they could put the company's success ahead of their own ego. They chose Sarah. Not only did she get the promotion she had been chasing for years, she got a promotion that was 2 levels higher than the one Kevin had received. She went from being his equal to being his superior in less than 18 months. Kevin was shocked. He had never seen it coming. He thought Sarah was just being a good team player. He never realized she was positioning herself for something much bigger. He never understood that her support of him was actually her investment in her own future. But the most beautiful part of this story is what happened next. Instead of using her new power to get revenge on Kevin, instead of making his life difficult the way he had made hers difficult, Sarah did something that shocked everyone again. She kept Kevin in his position and continued to support his success. She understood that true power is not about crushing your enemies. It's about making them irrelevant. Today, Sarah runs one of the most successful innovation divisions in the industry. She's respected by competitors, loved by her team, and sought after by headhunters. People who used to dismiss her now come to her for advice. People who used to attack her now ask for her support. But here's the most important part. Sarah didn't just change her external circumstances. She changed who she was as a person. She went from being reactive to being responsive. She went from being defensive to being strategic. She went from being a victim of circumstances to being a creator of opportunities. This transformation is available to every one of you. You can choose to stop fighting back and start fooling back. You can choose to stop reacting and start responding. You can choose to stop being played by the game. It starts with a decision to value your peace more than your pride, a decision to focus on your goals more than your grievances, a decision to build your future instead of fighting your past. When you make this decision, when you truly commit to this way of living, you will discover something remarkable. The people who used to be your enemies will become your allies. The situations that used to defeat you will become your opportunities. And the life that used to frustrate you will become your masterpiece. The choice is yours. You can keep fighting back and stay where you are, or you can start fooling back and become who you were meant to be. The game is waiting. The victory is available. The only question is, are you ready to stop being played and start playing to win?